What's up, everybody? Today we have Runi Salem with us. So excited. Okay, so start off by telling me about your name, because your real name is
Kacee Russell.
Yes.
Yeah. I was making a list of potential dog names one day, as one does, and it kind of snowballed into people names that I liked, like what I would name my children. And like there was a girl name that was Runi and a boy name that was Salem, but I kind of felt like it was flipped for me on which was feminine and which was masculine. And I'm kind of like that. I'm like a contradiction because I've always had like a curvier body than all my friends, but all I want to do is hide it. All I want to do is to make sure people don't perceive me. So that's why I kind of wanted an alias. It was kind of a mystery at first who I was.
Right.
Nobody really knew who the new account was, and I kept it a secret for some months. And then on April Fool's Day, I was like, it's me, Hannah Montana.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So do you feel like that's important to you to have that separation between your artist name and your personal life?
The longer I've had the name, the more I wish I would have just used my name. I think I was definitely hiding behind the name, but I wanted something mysterious because I'm not a mysterious person in real life. So, I mean, art can be a mask. So I just, I wanted to, I guess, kind of like separate myself at the time. And I was also trying to escape my life when I started the project. So, yeah.
How long have you been making music?
Since I was like 16 or 17, I've been writing songs, and I didn't want to play an instrument, but that's what made me start writing songs. My mom was like, "You need to play guitar or something." I'm like, "No, I'm going to be just like Hayley Williams and I'm going to have a band." But I didn't have a band, so I had to figure something out. And I definitely needed the outlet because I feel my feelings really hard.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't want to be Hayley Williams at some point in their life, honestly?
It's impossible, but she's so good.
Yeah. So you have been writing since you were a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
and you write, about heartbreak, about love, about emotion. So what in your songwriting process has stayed the same as you've gotten older, and what has changed for you?
There was a long period of time where I couldn't write like a happy song. And like I couldn't write about good feelings about a person, only like the mad ones and the sad ones. And in 2020, I got out of a long-term relationship, and it was like I had permission to do what I've always done since I was a kid, which is like fall in love with people really hard. And like they don't even know. Maybe they know. There was like a whole thing in like elementary school that I liked this one boy. Everybody knew it because I followed him around. And so it was kind of like honoring my childhood self, because that's why there's a lot of pictures from my childhood on my Instagram and stuff, because again, it's a mask. Like I wasn't totally comfortable with myself yet, physically, I guess. Again, I don't want to be perceived, but yeah, I feel like I lost my train of thought. But I was able to do that finally in 2020. It's like I was forced to like think about these feelings I was having. I was like, well, just gonna get it out on paper.
Yeah.
And that's what it turned into. It's just a big daydream.
Love that. Okay, so you're originally from Jackson, right? Okay, so moving to the Memphis scene, how has that shaped your music experience?
In a big way. I've lived all over the place. I lived in Jackson until I was like 19, and then I moved to Murfreesboro for a couple of years for college. and I transferred schools to Cleveland, Mississippi. And that was when like I really got into my craft, I guess. Because I was just around all of these fiercely creative people. It was like just the best place to write music. And then I moved to Memphis, and I had a huge like dry spot in writing. I couldn't write for over a year at all. Like everything I wrote, I was like, this is trash. And so I had to kind of like fall in love with writing again. And I started playing with Late Night Cardigan, my other band. And that taught me a lot because we did the thing where we played every night of the week for a while.
Wow.
Everybody has to do it. And sometimes we played to no one. And sometimes we had a really good crowd. And now when we play, we tend to have a good crowd because people held on. So it's like if you're going to do this, you really have to be okay with the possibility of making really good friends with 3 people in the crowd, because it really is what you make it.
Yeah.
And those people might feel connected to you for a long time because of that intimate experience. So.
Right. I feel like that's almost equally fulfilling to having like a sold out show, is having a connection with one person or a couple people that they really deeply feel like your music resonates with them, you know?
Yeah. And I went to school for music business, actually, and something that I picked up on when I was growing up and a huge fan of certain bands like Paramore. And I remember just in Katie Groves, I was a huge fan of, and she would like do live streams, and she would like actually talk to her fans. And so I really liked that they were accessible and they made me feel important with stuff like that. And so that's why I try, like when I first started this project, I sent out anonymous Valentines to a bunch of people. And a lot of people love my music to this day because I did that. And some people think I'm a creep because of it. So you never know what
Yeah, that's really cool. I personally like having that personal connection with artists. I mean, especially before social media and like the ability to have that, I guess, transparency between the artist and like who you are as a fan.
Yeah.
I've always really appreciated the artists that connect with their fan base, because to me, it's like I'm supporting you as a person, and you know, the things that you're going through resonate with me.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's nice to know that like, oh, this artist also cares about this relationship with me.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, some people are just like untouchable. And you know what? People still love them, and that's fine. It was just like my personal approach. I felt like I wanted to make other people feel important,
Right.
because I know what it's like to not feel important.
Yeah.
Enter my dreamy, wistful. It's like it seems happy. It seems like happy music, but it's actually kind of sad.
I feel like that's most pop music.
Yeah. It's just like, man, like it's like ultimate vulnerability zone.
Yeah.
On this collection of songs. And when I was writing them, I was like really in it. And then shortly after, I was like, this is like really sad that I wrote these songs about someone who literally doesn't care. like I'm making an assumption, but it's the healthy one probably. Because I didn't really know this person. It was just a muse, and he knows.
So this was a real person. For context, we are talking about the Birds EP that just dropped. And it is mostly about unrequited love with someone that doesn't know about it.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to ask, like, was this about a real person, or was it a person in your life, or was it like a celebrity?
So not a celebrity, even though I treated him like one. And he's not a bad person. He's an innocent person I happen to latch onto. So I definitely don't have anything bad to say about him, but it was someone that, like, shortly after I got out of a long-term relationship, I met him, and it was like 3 different chance meetings where I didn't know, and we live in separate cities. Like, I mentioned Georgia a lot, so there you go. But that's all I'll say about that. Um, but it's on the EP, so it's not like it's a secret. But I it was just like we would be in the same city on the same night where neither of us live, and it was just like that's what Long Shot is about, because I was like randomly in town for my cousin's birthday in another city, in Birmingham, and he was playing a show at the Nick, and uh, he like invited me to come to the show, and it was like I had never had like it wasn't even a date, it was just kind of a meetup, but I the magic that I felt like between me and this person on that night, and it was so simple, it was very lighthearted, but it was just like perfect in every way. And he introduced me to My Bloody Valentine's Loveless album, and he told me it sounds like a vacuum, and I use that terminology. And sometimes I say a little vacuum spun oblivion ode to me and you. But so I just kind of like I was locked inside immediately after, because this was March 2020.
Right.
So like we kept in touch though all throughout the pandemic, just a little bit, nothing crazy. We weren't like on the phone all the time or anything, but it was just enough to make me like believe that something was there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a real guy. I told him like, hey, I wrote all these songs about you. And now you're gonna know that.
What did he say?
He said, I got a cough. He had just told me that he had started dating someone. And I was just about to finally make it back to Georgia, like the song says, like over a year later, like a year and a half later. I was just about to come because he was like, when are you going to play a show? And I finally did. And then he told me, like, I'm seeing someone. And, like, he called me to tell me that, which was, I guess, cool of him.
Yeah.
Because nothing was really going on, but he knew enough to let me know as a courtesy, which I appreciated. But I called him back and I was like, all right, well, I got to tell you this now because you're going to know that they're about you when you hear them. So just, you got to deal with it.
But as an artist, I'm sure he can understand.
And he was like, I'm so flattered. That's so sweet. Yeah. So he was really nice about it. He really connected with one of the songs in particular, because he was there at the show. So, and then, he's still in that same relationship. So
honestly, that's like best case scenario for a terrible situation.
Yeah. I'm just, you know what? It's fine. For a long time, he would still like send me a picture if he was like playing with people that I know.
Gotcha.
So just like still kept it alive for a while, and eventually I just like unfollowed him and deleted his number because I was like, this isn't good for me to continue to believe that this is a thing for like real life.
I think sometimes that experience of having just like a short-lived moment with somebody, or like, a month or something where things didn't actually go wrong, is sometimes harder to get over than something that's fully played out, because you don't get to live out the what ifs. So you're just constantly living with well, in this experience that I had, it was so good. And I
Yeah.
can picture so many different possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And because there's so much left to the imagination,
Right.
you think about all of these things that could have been.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're right. It is like best case scenario. Like, okay, he's with someone else, so I don't need to worry about this anymore.
This story hasn't officially ended, you know?
Yeah.
There could be many more chapters to come.
Oh Lord. My brain would love to believe that. Like, believe me, it still like makes me feel some type of
Well,
way.
what if you guys become best friends and then like collab on a project one day or something?
Yeah,
You
it's
never
not
know.
like I like don't believe that that could happen. I definitely feel like we're kindred spirits. But I also think that like I took it to a delusional level at a certain point. But I mean, at least I recognize that.
That's what lover girls do. We be yearning.
I'm just a lover girl.
We just want to yearn. Is that so much to ask?
My friend Haley Ivy, she's in Little Baby Tendencies and Snorkeler.
Saw her last weekend.
Yes, she's a force. But like when she's just acoustic and like doing her folk thing, she's like a crooner, and she has this song called Lover Girl. It's my favorite one.
Aww.
Anyway, it just
I'll have to
reminded
check it
me
out.
of her.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So you also talked about how you wrote most of this during the pandemic.
Yeah, I did. I just was left with nothing but time to just ruminate on this one feeling. And like there's a couple songs about other people, but it's like similar sentiment, like just like being delulu about somebody.
Do you feel like songwriting is a therapeutic outlet for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it probably would have like manifested in like ultra stalkery ways if I hadn't like put it into a creative outlet. Um I mean, I'm not like I don't think I'm like totally crazy, but who knows? Like there's so much intensity in these songs. I can only imagine where else it could have gone,
Well, that's the great part about being an artist is that people don't think it's crazy if it's beautiful and it's art.
Yes.
Then it's totally fine.
Yes.
So the people that are actually concerning are people like me where I can't make a song about it and then I'm like, I guess I have to journal or take a walk.
Yeah. There's just a lot of like things that made me believe that it was for real. Like when I was a kid, I had an imaginary friend, and he was a cartoon orange tabby cat named George. And I don't know why, but I meet this person, and then he starts posting pictures of this orange cat named George that he lives with. And I was like, "Are you joking?"
Don't like it.
And he worked at like the Flickr bar, and I work at the Lamplighter, and I was like, this is just ridiculous. But
wild.
The Delulu stays.
Well, it made for a great EP.
Thank you.
And you also released this under a label.
Yes, I did. Right? Yeah, the Record Machines.
Yeah.
Same label as Black Hippie, which is really cool. I was like, okay, I see Black Hippie, all these amazing opportunities, and they're doing really well, it seems. So I was excited that they were interested. There's an old buddy from college that wrote one of the songs with me. He was still recruiting for this label, and he sent it to them.
What has it been like having the support of a label with your music?
It's nice to know that like a business entity can find my ideas like captivating, like the whole story and everything, like it's something that people can bite into. It's like encouraging. It gives me hope that like, okay, well, like maybe I can really do this, because it's all I've ever really wanted other than love. Obviously.
Okay, you also talk about how you don't like being perceived.
Yes.
Which I can relate to a lot. I'm very much an introvert, but your music, you're so candid about your feelings and your emotions. So I guess how do you fight that like contrast of not wanting to be perceived, but then being so transparent and so honest in your writing?
I think it's like a way that I can still dress like I'm homeless if I'm like vulnerable enough in other ways. 'Cause like I'm not gonna like it's very rare that I'll wear anything tight. And you know, like I make kind of poppy music, so the expectation usually is like show off your body.
Yeah.
And I'm just never gonna do that. And so that's why I'm kind of like blatantly honest to a fault, because it gives people a different reason to pay attention to me, I guess. And maybe that's why. I definitely like lean into humor, and I joke about traumatizing stuff. um, and I guess that's like the provocative side of me, instead of dressing that way.
I think it's almost like not a weapon, but kind of an armor when you know how to talk about emotional things or vulnerable things. Cause it's like, I know in my experience, when I do share things or I open up, it's like there's power in that because what are you going to say? You know, like
Yeah.
there's really nothing that you can attack me for
Yeah.
being honest about who I am, you know?
Yep. Yep. Being self aware is like a superpower,
Yeah.
because you'll usually call yourself out on things before anyone else can.
Hmm.
And people who love to call people out don't necessarily love that.
Right.
Um, but you know, for the most part, I think it makes you come across as genuine. Um, if you're just like, this is like the real me,
Hmm.
and you're not like putting on like a big facade, because that was something that really intimidated me about like finally pushing my music, was like having to have people look at me.
Yeah.
Because like that's part of it. But you know, fashion is a weapon in itself too. And it's good to have artists like Billie Eilish and Renee Rapp that wear comfortable clothes. Like thank God.
Billy is the reason I can wear the sweatshirt today and not
Yeah.
be ridiculed on the internet.
Yep.
So,
Yep. It's just like it's so good. Like I wish growing up I had had someone who also did that. The
yeah.
only example that I had was like Haley Williams, and even
Avril.
and Avril, yeah. But you know, they were also people who would wear tight clothes.
They're also skinny
Yeah, they're also very skinny.
and pretty.
Yeah, they're just like it was just something where I was like, oh, like I have to be this size in order to do music. Um, and that's always been a struggle for me. Some, you know, a lot of people still reinforce that idea.
Yeah.
And I mean, if anything, playing music makes you want to be in better shape because you need the breath support. So
True.
that's just the real thing. But yeah, it sucks that it's still such a huge thing, like to look a certain way.
Hmm.
But I think that at the end of the day, I never like wanted that to be my superpower, to like look like Barbie. I like I I love appreciating other women's beauty, and I know that it's not just one thing. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we all know that.
Yeah. I also love, I mean, just being in the local Memphis scene and in the Midtown scene in general, it's so nice. I mean, even just meeting people like you, but I think on a larger scale, like, I think women are becoming more and more comfortable in being authentic in the way that they look. And
Mhm.
I know for you and for a lot of people, it's hard to be like, oh, well, I don't look like this or I don't look like that. But that representation is so important to
Mhm.
people. I mean, even for me, it's like, oh, I can go out and like not wear makeup and that's okay, you know? And
Mhm.
to see other people who, first of all, I can't even get on stage. Like I'm
Mm.
so terrified. But then, you know, for people to be their authentic self on stage, I'm like, wow, so many people are looking to you and being like, that makes me feel like I'm okay with myself, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So it's like it's definitely something that makes me feel better about it.
Yeah.
Because like I know that every time I see a girl that is not like a size 0, like someone who looks more like I do, you shouldn't need permission, but honestly, it does help just to see people out there doing it. When I see women playing music who are closer to my size, I'm just like, thank God. Because, it's not a crime to be skinny. It's just easier. It's just a little bit easier. But
that's a great quote. I feel like that should be printed on like a block of wood. Or
it's not even like no hate. I have friends who are skinny, and I've talked to them about it's just like two sides of the same coin, just like people make fun of people for being too skinny, or like not having enough curves, and it's like it's impossible for every woman,
especially when the beauty standards change like every 20
Absolutely.
years. I mean, you think about, we're getting way off topic, but I mean, you think about like the Kardashians and like BBL culture like 5-10 years ago, and now being really skinny is back in, and like,
I know.
I mean, how are you supposed to attain this level of beauty and then this level of beauty at the same time? You can't, as a human woman.
Yeah. It's just like how it's all portrayed.
Yeah.
Where there's like an issue to me, because, pitting women against each other is always a mistake, because we're too smart.
Yeah.
We're too smart to fall for that at this point, most of us anyway.
Yeah. Okay. What has been, I guess, the best and worst part of being a solo artist?
The best part is making all my own decisions. Having to, I have a band, and we have conversations, because I don't want them to not want to be part of my band, but they've all been really sweet and just gone along with what I want to do, because it's like it's for me for once. I've always been in bands, but I've also always had solo music, and this is the first time I've like taken the solo stuff really seriously. So it's nice to have them like on my team. But like I love the camaraderie that comes with like being a band, where every member is highlighted, because it takes the pressure off.
Right.
You don't have to be the one that's on camera. So that was another mask,
Right.
It all comes back to me being uncomfortable in my body. Which like I do a lot better these days, but everybody has their moments where they feel like they look like a thumb.
Absolutely. I felt like that like 20 minutes before you got here.
Like from Spy Kids.
Yes.
Like I'm a thumb person some days. But everybody looks like a thumb sometimes.
Put that on a shirt.
Yeah. Even the prettiest person you can think of.
Yeah.
Angelina Jolie. I'm sure someday she feels like she's all lip.
Yeah.
She's
probably made fun of as a kid for her lips,
Yeah. Did she have them back then? Are they real?
We'll do some fact checking after.
The world may never know.
What advice would you give to young females starting out in their music journey?
Definitely you have to stand your ground with men who also play music, because they don't mean to, but they feel like they know better. And you tell them, don't touch my fucking amp. like don't touch it, because they love to mess with your stuff, and you gotta be mean a little bit.
Why do they do that?
Because they're stupid. I think that like they have a predisposition to help a woman, and I'm like, I don't need help with
You're
this.
very kind in your language.
I mean, I'm gonna try and explain it, because I'm in a band with a bunch of boys, And every time, if I ever have to be like, I don't really like what you just did, oh, it just hurts them so bad. And I'm just like, come on. And I've been in a million bands with boys. And if they say, hey, don't do that, do this other thing, they're like, oh yeah, I was thinking that. But if I say it, they're just like, oh, okay. I'm like, what do you mean? It's not that crazy. It's not like I said, that sucks. But, I think that that's a huge thing, is like, there's going to be a lot more men. I mean, there's way more women than there used to be in the music scene. So that is like power in and of itself. But like, don't let them think that you can't use a mic stand.
We can use mic stands just fine.
Yeah. I know how it works. Get away from me. But yeah, that's a huge thing. And don't put a wall between you and other female musicians, because they're there to help you. Like, you can just come together. I think a huge mistake a lot of women make is like kind of turn their nose up at other women who are doing well. And I think it's way better than it used to be. But I think like make sure that that's your community, because like, but I mean, you have to find community wherever you are.
Yeah.
I think that not being competitive is kind of important.
Right.
Just focus on what you're doing and don't worry about this person that has 12,000 followers. Yeah. You don't know where those came from. And get your own.
Right. But also I feel like everyone's definition of success is different.
Yes.
And to compare your level of success to somebody else, I feel like you're already losing, whether it's a man or a woman, So I think one thing that I have seen, just like meeting you guys in the music scene, like Anna Rose Baker and Zoe and like Jupiter, like all of these young women, I see all of you supporting one another, and like as human beings too, but on a musical level.
Yeah.
And just I really love the dynamic of the shows that you guys create, where it's like y'all are all there to support one another, and I feel like your friends and fan bases do the same thing.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, is like, you want to lift each other up. You don't be the person who feels too good to talk to other people, because like, you're only going to get anywhere from like being nice and working hard. And I just quoted Taylor Swift, because obviously
We got a Swiftie.
I am. It's I mean, I've just I remember standing in the kitchen when I was like 13 years old, and my grandpa was like, that Taylor Swift's a one-hit wonder. And now he's dead. Coincidence?
Don't come after the Swifties.
I'm just kidding. He died of natural causes. May he rest in peace. But, I've just grown up with her from day one.
Yeah.
And I've just always loved everything she's done.
Yeah, no, most like songwriters that I interview, like girls, a lot of them say Taylor Swift. And it's funny because a lot of the time they don't like to admit it, or it's like, I mean, I'm the same way with being a Drake fan. I'm like,
oh.
But I know a lot of young women were like, yeah, I grew up with Taylor Swift. So like,
yes,
as a songwriter, I really appreciated, her lyricism over the years and like her vulnerability.
And because, she writes about real emotions and like very specific situations, and like crazy emotions that like we all identify with on some level. And she just like made it feel like, oh, like this like is something that matters. Like feelings matter. But she's just like also done so much work, and to like see her where she is now is like, I went to the Eras tour. I did. I went in Denver, and I was like excited, but like the girl next to me, when she came out, the girl next to me started like screaming like somebody was stabbing her. And I was like not expecting that. And I was like, even like kind of being like, whoa, that's a lot, you know? And then she came out for the Fearless era. She's like skipping out with her guitar. And I just started bawling. And I was like, all right, I get it now. I'm just like so proud of her.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, 11 albums later.
It's crazy.
That's like, she's still here. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's my Taylor Swift pedestal.
So would that be your favorite artist?
Oh, that's so hard because I'd have to give you like 5.
Yeah, I know. Every time I ask people, like, I need one, they get so upset with me because they're like, I can't have one person define who I am.
I can tell you 100% I probably wouldn't be the songwriter I am without Taylor Swift. So if I had to pick one artist that is the most important to me, it's gonna be her probably. I mean, I love like Pine Grove. That's a really important artist. And like Yo La Tengo is really important to me.
Okay.
Yeah. Huge.
Interesting.
Huge Yo La Tengo fan. Also a product of the pandemic. And obviously Paramore. The Format that's the one I have a tattoo of. It says I'm ready, I am.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So Fun, the band Fun, it's the same singer as
Nate?
The Format. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I've never gotten to see them live, but that's like a band I could listen to every single day.
Nice.
And never get tired of it. But yeah, Taylor Swift, I think, is the most important one.
Okay. No cheating. What was the last thing that you were listening to?
Okay.
Little fun game here.
Let's see. I was listening to Bubba by Howdy.
Okay. Don't know who that is.
Right before I got here. Howdy with the V's as the W. Hovdy. I didn't know what their name was for a really long time. I was like, I'm not saying it. You can't make me. But they make some of my favorite music of all time. I think they're out of Nashville.
Okay.
But incredible band.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So what's coming up for you? Do you have shows or what can we be looking forward to?
I have a show Sunday, November 3rd. I have a show, and that's at High Tone. And then November 23rd, I've got a show at Lamplighter with the Narrows and Galactic Engineers from Birmingham.
Cool.
And they're really cool. It's a 2-piece, just like guitar and drums. It's like really jammy. It's good vibes. And then I'm going on tour with my friend Schaefer Yana, November 14th to 19th. I'm going to be in Nashville, New Albany, Indiana, Chicago, Kansas City area, and like Little Rock. And then we're going to be playing the Writers Round November 19th on the end of the tour at Lamplighter.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're busy.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Thank you.
You're really doing it.
Thank you.
Proud of you.
Thanks.
Well, thank you for coming.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Sharing.
Yeah, of course.
And being perceived.
Yeah. You may perceive me now.
And where can people find you?
Runi Salem on Instagram. My personal page is Kacee Meets World, like Boy Meets World. If you know, you know.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. Check out the Birds EP by Runi Salem if you haven't already. It's so incredible. BitchBopz certified. You're going to love it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Bye, guys.